Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon.
Please can the witness be sworn?
Okay. I, June Helen Dix, do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please can you state your full name for the record?
June Helen Dix.
June, you are the mother of Terry Dix, who was born on the 17th of August 1971 and died on the 16th of April 2018 at the age of 46. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
I understand that during your evidence, you would like me to refer to Terry by his first name throughout my questions.
Yes.
And to refer to you by your first name, June.
Yes.
By way of background, the inquiry sent a Rule 9 request for evidence to your legal representatives on the 24th of January 2025, and in response to that request, you've provided a witness statement to this inquiry, which I hope you have in front of you.
I don't know.
You don't have a copy of the witness
No.
statement. I wonder if we can ensure that you have a copy of the witness statement. Apologies, if we pause there for a moment just to ensure that June has a copy of that statement in front of her. Yes, June, in relation to that statement, you'll have it with you shortly. I'm grateful.
Thank you. Thank you.
You now have the Chair's copy of the witness statement, but it should be the exact same document.
Thank you.
If you can turn to page 29 of that statement and just confirm that it's dated the 12th of December 2025. The second to last page.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
And can you see there the 12th of December 2025?
Yes.
And although it isn't there at the moment, is it right that you signed that statement?
Yes, I did, yes.
Thank you. So you made a statement of truth and signed the witness statement?
Yes.
We're just going to hand across now your bundle, which includes the statement, and we'll return that copy to the Chair. You can leave it in the bundle. You might find it easier just to flick through it with it in there. Have you had an opportunity to read through that statement recently?
Yes, yes.
Now, I understand that there are some matters of correction in relation to that statement. I'm just going to take you through those now for you to confirm. Firstly, and it may help you to turn this up, at paragraph 44 of your statement, this is at page 8. If you see that the paragraph starting, Terry following an assessment at Rochford Hospital. Can you see that at the bottom of the page?
Yes, yeah.
Now, it says here, Terry following an assessment at Rochford Hospital was sectioned for a period of 28 days at Basildon Mental Health Unit. Is it right that this should in fact say that Terry following an assessment at Rochford Hospital was sectioned for a period of 28 days, during which he spent about a week at a mental health unit in Northampton, but for the majority of which he was at Basildon Mental Health Unit?
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you very much. If we can turn over the page then, and the last paragraph on page 9, paragraph 49, we can see there that you state, in relation to Terry's second admission to hospital, that once Terry had been assessed, Roy and Terry's sister were asked to leave him so that Terry could be taken to a secure unit at Rochford Mental Health Unit. Is it right that this should in fact say that once Terry had been assessed, Roy and Terry's sister were asked to leave him so that Terry could be taken to a secure unit at Basildon Mental Health Unit?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. If we can turn then to paragraph 63, which is at your page 12, and again the last paragraph on that page, where it says that Terry was an inpatient for 28 days prior to being discharged. It then says during his inpatient stay on the 7th of December 2016, he was transferred to Rochford Hospital, and thereafter on the 19th of December 2016, he was transferred to Cedar Ward after agreeing to informal treatment. In fact, is it right that the reference and line there about him being an inpatient for 28 days should be removed, and it should say that during his inpatient stay on the 7th of December 2016, he was transferred to Cedar Ward at Rochford Hospital, and thereafter, on the 19th of December 2016, he was discharged after agreeing to informal treatment.
That's correct.
Thank you. One final correction just to take you to, if you can go back 2 pages to page 10 and paragraph 54. This is in relation to the third admission to hospital, and where it says that on the 25th of October 2017, Terry was admitted to Southend Hospital, Cedar Ward, under Section 2 of the Mental Health Act. This should in fact say that on the 25th of October 2017, Terry was admitted to Rochford Hospital, Cedar Ward, under Section 2 of the Mental Health Act. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you. We've jumped around there, but we're going to take things chronologically in a moment. Aside from these corrections, is this document true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, yes, it is.
Thank you very much. As you know, that witness statement will therefore stand as your evidence to the inquiry, and although I'm going to ask you some questions about that witness statement, I'm not going to take you through it line by line or ask you to read it out. Please be assured that the chair and the inquiry team have read and considered everything you say in that statement very carefully, and it will form part of the body of evidence on which this inquiry will rely. I'd also like to acknowledge now that you and your husband Roy have provided a commemorative and impact account in relation to your son Terry, and the inquiry is extremely grateful to you for that evidence as well as your evidence today. I'd like to remind you that I won't be asking you to name any individual members of staff today, so please try not to do so. And if you require a break at any point, please just do bring that to my attention and we will take one. Your evidence will focus on your concerns in relation to your son's care and treatment under the care of the South Essex Partnership University NHS Foundation Trust, which we'll be referring to as SEPT, and then from the 1st of April 2017, when SEPT merged with the North Essex Partnership University NHS Foundation Trust under the care of the new trust resulting from that merger, which was the Essex Partnership University NHS Foundation Trust, which we will be referring to as EPUT. Before we go through your evidence, I want to make clear that you've prepared this witness statement to give as full an account as you can. Do I understand correctly that it's based on your recollection of what you saw and experienced at the time and what you were told by your husband Roy and your daughter, who is Terry's sister, is that right?
That's right, yeah, that's correct.
As well as what you were told by Terry at the time?
Yep.
And am I right in understanding that it's also based on your consideration of some documents that you had not seen at the time, but you've seen more recently, including Terry's medical records and material from the inquest proceedings?
Correct.
Thank you. I'd like to start by setting out a timeline of your son's involvement with Essex Mental Health Services, and I'm going to take the timeline and key dates from your witness statement. Please do stop me if I summarise anything incorrectly. Taking all of these matters from the information you've provided to us in the witness statement, Terry started showing signs of what you describe as an emotional breakdown around 2009 when his marriage ended and he lost his job. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
And then in 2015, you noticed a sharp decline in Terry's mental health, with Terry appearing to experience hallucinations and delusions.
Yes.
Terry was first admitted to hospital on the 4th of April 2015 after he became aggressive towards you and Roy, prompting you to call NHS 111, following which an ambulance and police attended, and Terry was assessed and detained under Section 3 of the Mental Health Act. Is that right?
That's right, yeah, that's correct.
And initially he was admitted to Cedar Ward at Rochford Hospital. Is that right?
Yes.
Terry became violent and needed a secure unit, and due to the lack of beds locally, Terry was transferred to a secure mental health unit in Northampton for about a week, and then transferred to the Basildon Mental Health Unit before being discharged on around the 2nd of May 2000.
That's correct, yeah.
Thank you. At this time, as you understand it now from the records you've seen, Terry was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. Is that right?
Yes, but we didn't know about that.
Terry was then admitted to hospital for a second time on the 1st of December 2016. Is that right?
Yes.
He was detained then under Section 2 of the Mental Health Act at the Hadley unit at Basildon Mental Health Unit, and then transferred to Cedar Ward at Rochford Hospital on the 7th of December before agreeing to informal treatment and being discharged on the 19th of December 2016.
Correct, yeah.
Terry was then admitted to hospital for a third time on the 25th of October 2017. He was detained under Section 2 of the Mental Health Act at the Cedar Ward at Rochford Hospital, and during this admission, you understand now from the records that you've seen that he was given a provisional diagnosis of schizophrenia. Is that right?
Yes.
And he was then discharged on the 13th of November 2017 after agreeing to informal treatment.
Yeah, correct.
On the 20th of March 2018, Terry was then discharged from care coordination in the community. Is that correct?
Yes.
And on the 9th of April 2018, Terry's sister contacted the Recovery and Wellbeing team, expressing concerns that she felt Terry was relapsing. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
On the 11th of April 2018, Terry's care coordinator visited Terry's flat along with a colleague, and given Terry's presentation, they agreed to request a Mental Health Act assessment to Terry and made a referral to the authorised mental health professional service that day. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
We'll call that AMHP. The AMHP staff who was electronically booking for a Section 135 warrant application, which was needed to gain access to Terry's property, mistakenly booked a hearing date that had already passed. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
And by the time this was picked up, the next available hearing date was the 16th of April.
That's right.
Terry's sister called the Recovery and Wellbeing team throughout the 12th and 13th of April. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And on the afternoon of the 13th of April, she was told that Terry's warrant would not be obtained until the 16th of April.
That's correct.
On the 14th of April, Saturday, Terry's sister called the emergency duty team, who advised either to take Terry to A&E or to contact the police to do a welfare check.
That's correct, yeah.
On the 16th of April at 3:45 p.m, the Section 135 warrant for Terry was obtained, and the AMHP staff then contacted the police, who confirmed that they would be able to facilitate the warrant and a mental health assessment on the 18th of April at 10:30 a.m.
That's correct.
On that same date, the 16th of April, Terry died of multiple injuries, having jumped out of the window of his tower block flat. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you for assisting in running through that timeline. It's extremely helpful. I now want to ask you some questions regarding your concerns in relation to Terry's care and treatment through that period. And I want to take you through these thematically. I'm going to start by asking you some questions about his time as an inpatient on the wards. Am I right in understanding that in terms of the care he received in Essex, this provision was either at the Hadley unit at the Basildon Mental Health Unit or at the Cedar Ward at Rochford Hospital?
That's correct, yeah.
Those were the two locations he was at and where you visited him, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Firstly, I want to ask some questions about your concerns regarding the physical ward environments that Terry was in as an inpatient. If it helps you, just to orient yourself, this is set out in your statement at paragraphs 67 to 70, so that's page 13, in case it's useful for you to have that to look at. Am I right in understanding that during Terry's April 2015 admission, so this is the first time he's in hospital, he spent the majority of his time at the Basildon Mental Health Unit?
That's right.
What was your impression of the physical ward environment at the Basildon Mental Health Unit?
Well, I'd never been in anywhere like that before.
Yes.
And it felt like a prison, you know, everybody was locked up, and when you went to visit, you were watched through a glass, and when we left, there was nobody to help him. I just felt like people are just left on their own to deal with themselves. There's not many staff about. It's dark and dreary place and quite depressing.
And I think you say in your statement that you were locked in a room together whilst visiting Terry with a window, is that right, so that staff could see you and observe?
Yes, yeah, and it's, you know, it's not anything we expected to. We were going to visit to make sure he was all right, but we were just, it's like we were being watched all the time, and it's quite intimidating.
It didn't feel
and for him it must have been even worse for him, I think, really.
Yes. And you also comment on the fact that the Basildon Mental Health Unit had no outdoor space.
No outdoor space. Not as far as I'm aware, they had no outdoor space, no.
And what impact do you think...
At that time.
Yes, this is the 2015. And what impact do you think that had on Terry, that environment, that atmosphere?
Well, I think when he came out of there, he was worse than before he went in. I don't think the treatment or what treatment he had, we don't know because we weren't really involved. Because as an adult, we were never discussed. We were never asked to come in and speak to anybody.
Yes.
So we were kept in the dark about what treatment he was having.
I want to come back in a moment to the issue of information sharing and what you were told. The second place, I think you say that Terry was an inpatient, was Rochford Hospital, and he was transferred there partway through his second admission to hospital, and he was sectioned there during the third in October of 2017. What was your opinion of Cedar Ward at Rochford Hospital? Was it a better environment or...?
No, it was worse.
Worse?
It was actually worse. There were so many people in there, but not many staff.
Yes.
And everybody was just walking about. I don't know, I just think he felt really unsafe in there.
Yes.
When we went to visit, he was just, I don't know, he was just totally, I felt he felt he was alone. I don't think there was anybody there to help him. As I said, staff-wise, you just didn't see anyone.
I want to turn now to ask you some questions about your concerns, which you're expressing now, which you set out in your statement regarding staffing of the wards. How often did you or other family members visit Terry whilst he was under section in these wards?
We visited him on a daily basis sometimes, if not myself, my daughter, my husband.
So you had the opportunity to regularly see patterns in terms of staffing?
Yeah. And even if you wanted to try and speak to somebody, there was never anybody about, either or they might have been in a locked room or...
And so was it your impression that there were just not enough staff available?
Definitely not enough staff to help all of the people in there.
And was this a consistent problem as you see it, or was it more acute in one or other of
I think it was more acute in Rochford than it was in Cedar Ward than it was in the Hadley unit.
And was it your impression that this was just about staff numbers and a shortage of numbers, or was it about staff visibility as well?
Yeah, staff visibility, but just staff showing that, and didn't seem to be much care. And I think that's the problem with mental health patients. You go into a hospital if you're unwell and you expect to come out and be made better, but in mental health it's totally different. You people go into these places, they have a breakdown, they give them medication and they send them home. They don't make them better or try to make them better, as I see it.
And so when you talk about care, were you able to observe interactions between the staff and Terry?
Not really, no. No, you didn't really see them.
And I think you say in your statement that, particularly of Rochford Hospital, that you would see staff often sitting together in the office and not on the floor, as it were, and engaging with patients.
Yeah, they were in the office, not out there with the patients. And
was that something that you sensed that they weren't interacting with or engaging with patients?
Yeah, they weren't interacting at all, as far as I could see it.
And how did this lack of staff presence impact your experience as concerned family members visiting Terry?
Yeah, because when we left, we always felt that he was on his own and no one was helping him. You felt quite vulnerable. He felt quite vulnerable, I think.
You talked about him not feeling safe.
Yeah, I think
Did he ever give you any instances of things happening that particularly upset him?
Things like he was telling us that with regards to cutlery in the kitchen and things like that, they always had to be careful in case somebody picked, because somebody could be hurt. And they were always having to be careful on what they picked up.
And did you ever see any instances of
I never
aggressive or frightening, threatening behaviour from anybody?
In there, yeah. Once we was with Terry, my daughter was with me, and someone came up, and he was being very aggressive, and Terry told him to go away, and that didn't happen, and it was getting really tense, and there was nobody about to sort it out, and we just had to deal with it ourselves, and it was quite frightening, never been in those sorts of places before, but it's not the people's fault, they're unwell, and there isn't anybody there to look after them and make sure that they're okay, and I just felt it was a really horrible place.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
And I think you say in your statement, I don't know whether this is the same occasion or not, but that Terry's sister was visiting him and another patient kept coming to the room, and in the end Terry ended the visit short because he was concerned for his sister's safety.
That's right, yeah. That was another time, yeah. He was really concerned for her safety.
And during that occasion when this was happening, were there any staff about, as far as you're aware?
No.
Did staff ask this patient to go away or intervene in any way?
No, Terry had to deal with it.
And so what did this absence of staff or distance between yourselves as visitors and staff mean in terms of being able to ask questions or raise concerns?
You couldn't,
with the
staff themselves?
So if you had a concern, for example, of a patient interrupting a meeting that you're having with Terry...
There wasn't anybody there to ask.
And were there occasions when you raised concerns with the staff?
Can't remember. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't think we did, no.
Now, you've mentioned information sharing and you not getting information about Terry. I want to ask just what your understanding now is, sitting here today, as to whether Terry had consented to share details of his care with you as a family. What do you understand the position to be today?
Well, we know now that he said to the consultant that he didn't want us involved in his care.
Yes.
But my point was that when Terry had his first breakdown...
The 2015.
In 2015, when he became well, because we had problems talking to the doctors, the GP, because he was an adult. They wouldn't give us information. So when he was well, we discussed this with him, and he said he was happy for us to get an agreement signed that we could go to the GP. He would sign it so that when he was if it happened again, we could then contact the GP, and the GP could give us information, and vice versa, you know, and we could hopefully go to EPUTS and get them to agree that as well. But they wouldn't agree it. The GP did, but the EPUTS didn't. So when it did happen again, you know, Terry obviously it wasn't in his right mind, and he was saying things like he didn't want us to be involved.
Yes.
But when he was well, he was happy for us to be involved. But the doctors took his word for that. You know, and I could never understand why they did that, because they could see he wasn't well, and he was saying to them, you know, he doesn't want his parents involved, and they were taking that as right, and it wasn't right.
And so just to orient us, so this is after the first admission, where you'd had these problems whereby the hospital staff were saying they couldn't share information with you. A letter between you and Terry was drafted?
Drafted, yeah.
And that was provided to the GP, is that right?
Yeah.
In anticipation that when he was...
If it happened again.
...unwell again, Terry's wishes would be known from when he was as well as he could be.
Yeah.
And December 2016 rolls round, he's admitted again. What did you do at that point in terms of the document that you had showing Terry's wishes? And what was the response you got from staff?
Well, we didn't get any response from them, because they wouldn't agree, because Terry had said he didn't want us involved.
And so that's something you understand that he'd said to them when asked, but was in conflict with the document that you had.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you given any information about how you could complain about this, raise this with somebody more senior?
No. We didn't really have any knowledge of Terry's care or treatment, really.
Yes.
Nothing was ever explained to us. My husband did go to one meeting at the very beginning when Terry was first admitted, but after that we were never asked. So we never knew really what was going on with Terry's care and treatment.
And so this is the first meeting when he's being admitted in 2015?
Yeah.
And from then on, you as a family are...
In the dark.
Not in the dark about his care and treatment. Returning now to your experience of visiting Terry as an inpatient, what was your experience of trying to get in contact with staff by telephone, for example, when you weren't there seeing Terry directly?
Telephone was... Yeah, they used to answer the telephone. That was... I'm just trying to think back now. Yeah, they did answer the telephone, and we always inquired at how Terry was.
Yes.
And it was never really, just a short response to say that he was fine.
Yes.
He was doing okay.
You explain in your statement that you raised difficulties with contact and speaking to staff on the ward with the mental health team verbally. Can you tell us a little bit about when you did make a complaint or raise an issue, how that was dealt with, or what was the response that you got?
I don't know that we really ever complained as such.
Yes.
We just inquired about Terry's well-being all the time, or more so than complaining. I can't remember the exact conversations that we had, but it wasn't. I don't think we really ever did complain like we should have done, probably.
And in terms of visiting Terry, you explain in your statement that there were set visiting times which you attended. Outside of that, Terry could only contact you through the mental health unit's office telephone, is that right? And how available was that to you to be able to speak to Terry when he was feeling isolated, when he wanted to speak to family? Did that function? Did that work?
Not really, no. No, it didn't work, no.
And why was that?
But he didn't really phone us. When he was in those places,
Yes.
You know, he was a different person. And I think he felt, in his own way, bad for us that he was in that place.
Yes.
And so he sometimes wanted to be distant from us.
Yes.
Because I don't think he could handle, you know, because we're very close family, and you know, although as much as we tried to help him, sometimes he didn't want our help.
Yes.
And yeah, sorry, I'm going off point there.
No, take a moment if you need one. It's extremely helpful to understand that. You comment in your statement about the impact of understaffing, meaning that the practical aspects of Terry's care were not being taken care of. I understand that he had special dietary needs because he had celiac disease, is that right?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And you comment that didn't seem to be receiving the attention that it needed. What makes you say that?
Well, I don't recall him ever saying that he had special dietary, you know, food in there.
Yes.
He never said that he had that. So I assume from that they didn't really take that into consideration for him.
Yes. And what do you consider that the impact of understaffing or lack of staff on the ward had on the engagement with Terry?
He had no respect, I don't think, for anyone in there. He just said that really he felt people were just going through the motions, not really trying to find out what was wrong with him, how they could help him. He had no faith in it at all. In the staff in there.
So
in fact, he had no faith in any of the staff, be it consultant or.
And we'll come to talk particularly about one consultant that you mention. Would it be fair to say that your impression was that he didn't feel any hope about the treatment that he was receiving and didn't have a proper relationship with any of the staff?
Yeah, that's right.
You said earlier on that Terry was worse when he came out than when he went in.
I felt he was worse.
Was that something you felt about all of the 3 inpatient episodes?
Well, the worst one was the very last one, when how he was ever discharged from there, I really don't know. I mean, I could see he was so unwell.
Yes.
So for me, it just got worse each time he went in there.
Oh, right. Thank you. That's helpful.
In terms of the amount of therapeutic care that Terry was receiving during these admissions, what was your understanding in terms of any activities that he was involved in or anything like that?
I didn't know of anything.
And do you think this may have been because you were kept in the dark about what was happening with him, or you think it was because it wasn't happening?
I don't think it was happening.
Is it right that having now considered Terry's medical records, there doesn't appear to have been any record of treatment or care plans relating to Terry's care whilst he was an inpatient under section? Is that right?
Yeah.
And you've touched on this a bit in terms of the general atmosphere of the wards. Would it be fair to say that and you set it out in your statement, that it was a tense and unsettling atmosphere. Is that right?
Yes, it was, yeah. I think more so Rochford than Basildon.
Yes. And you raise specific concerns about the consultant psychiatrist overseeing Terry's care in 2017, who we'll be referring to as consultant psychiatrist 2. And you describe that psychiatrist coming across as cold and indifferent, and making Terry and your family feel as though he was an inconvenience rather than a priority. Can you say a little bit more about what gave you that impression, why you reached that conclusion?
Well, my husband when he went to that first meeting.
Yes.
His opinion was that, that they weren't listening to Terry, and they was quite arrogant, and I don't know.
Don't worry, that's extremely helpful. I think you say in your statement that she was interrupting and talking over family, and that in your view, or the family's view, she had her own agenda. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
You mentioned that on that occasion, it sounds like was it the one occasion that there was that interaction with the psychiatrist, or was it several?
Just the one, really.
And that on that occasion, Roy had to correct the consultant on her opinions.
That's right.
Are you able to say, you may not be, what kind of corrections he needed to make, or what kind of things she was saying that were of concern?
Well, I think Terry was talking, he was unwell, and he was talking really what we say gobbledygook, really. It was just talking really silly things, really, he was saying. And he was talking about helping out, I've forgotten talking about paedophilia, and she was trying to, she sort of like turned it round as if like Terry was talking about him being a paedophile, and Roy had to correct it. That's not really what he's saying to you. He was talking all gobbledygook, and Roy had to correct her on that. But again, I don't know whether, because she was, I'm not sure if she was foreign. I don't know if she fully understood what Terry was saying.
And you feel that Roy was having to explain and give context and perhaps...
Yeah. So we don't know what went on with that consultant in the meetings where we weren't there. Things that were said, we just don't know.
And so it would be fair to say that your impression is based on this one meeting.
Just the one meeting, yeah.
I want to ask you briefly about your concerns regarding Terry's medication. What were you aware of in terms of the medication that Terry was taking?
We knew he was obviously taking medication, but I couldn't tell you the name of it now. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Not to worry. If it helps, you refer in your statement to him having been prescribed olanzapine.
That's it, olanzapine, sorry.
No, not to worry. What did Terry tell you about how this medication was making him feel?
Well, it was making him feel more depressed, I think. It was making him feel drowsy. He didn't want to take it. He did actually stop taking it, I know, because he told me. And I said, well, I did say to him, is that a good thing? You need to speak to the doctors. But he said he was adamant that it was making him worse, and he just didn't want to... I think he just was hoping that he would just be back to normal after not taking it. But, of course, that wasn't the case. He had to carry on taking it.
And so the side effects that he was experiencing is something he communicated to you. Is it your understanding this was something that was communicated to hospital staff, or do you not know?
I don't really know.
Do you know, either from what you knew at the time or from what you know now, whether there were any attempts to try Terry on different medication at any stage other than olanzapine?
I don't know that, no.
I want to turn now just to talk about that discharge that you mentioned in the November of 2017. So this is after Terry has been admitted for the third time. I understand that you have concerns regarding his being discharged at that time, and if it helps you, you outline these at paragraph 65 and 66, so page 13. Is it right that you went to collect Terry from the hospital on this occasion?
Yeah, we did.
And you've touched on it already, but what was your impression of Terry when you went to collect him on that day?
He was in a terrible state. And we got him in the car, and my daughter went back in to try and find out, why he was being discharged. And they just said, he's being discharged. There was no full explanation. But we as layperson could see that he was so unwell.
Yes.
And we just could not understand why they were discharging him. It's the worst we'd ever seen him.
And you mentioned in your statement that he was displaying a lot of the symptoms, false beliefs, difficulties organising his thoughts, speaking to voices in his head.
Yeah, speaking to everyone that he passed, and it was shocking, really. And we tried to get him to come home, but he insisted on going back to his own flat. So that was really traumatic because it was terrible leaving him, because we were so worried about him.
And when Terry's sister went back into the hospital to say, look, we can see from our understanding that he's not well enough to be discharged, and she was told, we can't tell you more than he's being discharged. Was any information given to you then about how you might raise a complaint, how you might deal with this issue? And
we were basically felt we were left on our own.
And did they give you information at that point, given the concerns that you were raising, about what you could do if you were concerned about Terry once he was discharged and if he appeared to be in crisis?
No.
And given what you've said, I think the answer to this is likely to be no, but were you given any information about the plan for Terry's care after his discharge?
No.
I'm now going to ask you some questions about your concerns regarding Terry's care in the community and the discharge from care coordination in March 2018. So this is some months on, four or so months later. Having seen Terry's medical records, I understand that you're particularly concerned about an EPUT outpatient appointment that Terry attended with his care coordinator on the 20th of February 2018, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And you say in your statement that at this appointment it's recorded that Terry continues to have delusional and paranoid beliefs and that his case will be discussed at the multidisciplinary meeting the following day. Is that right? Now, having seen that record, what do you consider should have happened as a result of that appointment?
Well, I think he should have been reassessed, and likelihood that he would have been sectioned again.
Now,
And it may have been that, he wasn't taking his medication, we don't know.
yes.
And that didn't help. But at that point, when they're saying those things, that to me, that means that he needs further help. And I think out in the community helping the community wasn't what he needed.
And at this point, you've mentioned that he may not have been taking his medication, and you've also mentioned there was a time at which he told you he wasn't taking it. Do you know, when was it that he told you he wasn't taking it?
Well, this was when he first had the section. This is the first time he started to take the tablets, and he realised how it was making him feel.
Yes.
So he wanted to stop taking them. So as far as I know, he did stop taking them, but I think he went back on them again because obviously we'd gone through a second section and
Third section.
Can I ask you, when they discharged him and you said he was very unwell, in 2017, the end of 2017. You say that you were given no information about this, but you had said earlier that it was suggested that if there was an issue, he was to go to, you were to take him to A&E or possibly contact the police for a welfare check.
Yeah,
when were you told that?
That was at the very end, at the weekend before Terry.
Right. So it wasn't at the time of discharge?
No, that wasn't then, sorry, no.
Sorry, that's my mistake.
That was December 17, that was.
And just to understand that period between the November when he's discharged in 2017 and the February, you said that you picked him up, you took him home, he obviously wanted to be at his own address. What was the position in terms of your contact, you and Roy and Terry's sister's contact with him over that time period? Were you speaking to him, were you not?
Well, my daughter was.
Yes.
But he didn't want to speak to us. For some reason, he just decided that he didn't want to. He used to visit my daughter, but he didn't, we only lived up the road. But he just, for some reason, I think because when we first sectioned him, he was really angry with us for doing that. But we couldn't help him. He needed what we thought professional help.
I think you say in your statement that you think it may have been because he blamed you for his having been sectioned.
Yeah, he did, yes, he did. But we couldn't, on that when he was first sectioned, It was a terrible time. We'd never been through anything like that before. We didn't know what to do, how to handle it.
Yes.
And we just thought we need some help. But then, of course, that sort of backfired on us.
Yes.
Because he never really forgave us for that, really. Because he saw it as we put him into the system. And that system then stopped him in his head from, he's had this breakdown. He can't work, he can't get a job, no one's going to employ him. That's how he saw it. I think he felt then like everything was crashing down on him. And he had good jobs all his life. He worked in the city, had a very good job. And I think it just all went crashing down. I don't think he just ever forgive us for it, really.
But he had maintained a relationship of trust with your daughter, Terry's sister, is that right?
Yes, he did, yeah.
Are you able to help with, at this point in the February and the March of 2018, what she was telling you about how he was presenting, how he was behaving?
Yes, we knew, we was all in regular contact, you know. If he went to my daughter's, she would say, Terry's been round, he's looking really, he's talking, he's paranoid, he's just all the symptoms that we'd seen before.
Yes.
So she knew him full well, like we did. So we liaised on the phone a lot when he was about, so that we couldn't, so that he didn't know we were doing that. You
were as close as he would let you be at that point.
Yes, but then my daughter kept us up to date.
Yes.
Completely with everything that was going on.
And then
but there was a time afterwards. Sorry, you're saying about trust.
Yes.
And we never really forgive ourselves, I think, for perhaps doing what we did, but knowing it was the only way what we could do. But my daughter said to me afterwards, she felt like the trust would be gone with her as well eventually.
Yes.
Because he was becoming more distant with everybody. And, but again, it wasn't because it just wasn't getting the right care and treatment.
And then on the 20th of March 2018, so this is about a month later, I understand from your statement that Terry attended an outpatient appointment with a consultant psychiatrist, a different one, consultant psychiatrist 1, And from the records you have seen, Terry is noted to have explained that he had no thoughts of harming himself or others, and stated he was Christian, so wouldn't do that, but also that Terry displayed some paranoia about society and organisations, and hostility and irritability. And it was following this appointment, you understand, that Terry was discharged from care coordination, is that right?
Yes.
What's your view as to the appropriateness of discharging Terry from care coordination at that point?
Well, everything's, to me, contradicting itself. I mean, the care coordinator appointment that he had in February was saying that he was paranoid and delusional, and then a month later, those comments were made, and they just contradict themselves, I think, really. And I don't know why they agreed to discharge him, and they do say, I think, it's because he wanted to be discharged.
Yes, you refer in your statement to an outpatient clinical report written by that psychiatrist to Terry's GP on the 23rd of March, where it's noted that Terry's care coordinator expressed the view that Terry was possibly not taking his medication. And as you say, you think this may be because Terry wanted to be discharged, is that right? Have you seen anything to suggest that steps were taken to review Terry's medication or speak to him about it at that point?
No.
And what do you think should have happened at that point in March where discharge from care coordination was being considered?
Well, it shouldn't have happened. I mean, he should have, I think, looking at the February appointment and the March appointment and the comments that are made, I think he should have been sectioned again at that point.
If I can ask you just to, in case it's useful, turn up, if you go back 2 pages in the statement to page 11, paragraph 60 is the bottom of the page. And here you explain that on all 3 of the occasions when Terry was sectioned, he displayed a number of the same symptoms, and you set out there on that page and over the page what, as I understand it, you see those symptoms were. And amongst those, you've listed false beliefs about things going on in the world, sensing things that weren't there, and social withdrawal. From your understanding from Terry's sister as to what was happening at this point in time, end of March 2018, was it your understanding that these symptoms were playing out again, and the pattern was repeating?
Yes.
And what is your view as to whether this pattern was properly looked at by those caring for Terry at the time?
Well, I don't think it was. Why would they discharge? Why would they have discharged him? There's all these, things that were leading up to April.
Yes.
That were happening with him slowly but surely, and he was just reaching.
What I want to do is I want to come to one quick matter, and then before we come on to those 7 days in April, if it's a convenient moment, we'll take a break. So I'm going to deal just shortly with that, and then we'll take a short break before dealing with that. Is that all right?
Okay.
So before I come to the events of April 2018, I want to ask you, you've touched on this a little bit, but just some questions about your involvement in securing Mental Health Act assessments for Terry previously. And I want to ask particularly about when Terry was sectioned for the second time in December 2016. How was it that Terry came to be assessed on that occasion? This is the second time.
Well, he was...
If it helps you, your paragraph 48, you talk about Roy and Terry's sister taking him to his GP.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just going back down looking at it.
And I think you say, who, owing to his presentation, recommended he be taken to A&E for an assessment.
That's right. My husband and my daughter, they took him to the GP, and he was, again, going through all these things that we'd seen before.
Yes.
And that's when they took him to the GP, recommended that we take him to A&E, and that's where he was assessed there.
And can you describe what that experience of getting Terry to the emergency department and waiting there with him was like? What, was this straightforward? How long did it take? What was the experience like?
Well, for my husband and my daughter, it was quite hard
Yes.
getting him there and then keeping him there.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to have security on the door so that he didn't leave. You know, he was in a very bad way at the time.
Yes.
And they had to deal with all of that. I wasn't there at the time.
I think you say in your statement that it was an extremely stressful and difficult
For
situation.
both of them, it was, yeah.
And in October 2017, when Terry's mental health declined again and you were worried about his safety, you say that you thought it was best that this time you left it to the medical team. Is that right? And why did you feel this time that that was the better approach, not to be involved as family in getting that assessment or being seen to get that assessment?
Because we just didn't want to be blamed for
Yes.
this, you know, this section happening again, because he used to, you know, he didn't want to be going into these places. He did fight like tooth and nail not to go into these places, but he had to, and yeah.
I think you explain in your statement that you called the mental health team who came to Terry's flat, and although you weren't actually with Terry at his flat, you waited outside to ensure that what needed to happen did happen.
Yes,
and that he was
we did, yeah, but we didn't want him to see us, yeah. We didn't want him to know that we'd been involved, because it just made things worse, really, for us, really. Because he wasn't speaking to us as well, and then we didn't want to...
Yes. And you've explained the impact that this role you felt you had to play had on your relationship with Terry, and that you weren't personally in contact with him in April of 2018. Is it right that Terry's...
Although I was on the phone with my daughter all the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Of what was going on. So, yeah, we were...
Is it right that in April 2018, when Terry's sister spoke to the care coordinator, she explained that she was the only member of the family that at that point he would speak to, and that therefore the fact that she was calling was something that shouldn't be shared with Terry? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In your view, how important to keeping Terry safe was Terry's relationship with his sister at that time?
Oh, it was very important, yeah. I mean, you know, sorry, my daughter, she did her best to keep him, make sure that he was safe, keeping him safe, and phoning the Taylor Centre, making sure that they got to see him and make an assessment as soon as possible. She was trying to do the best that she could.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean, for the evidence you've given so far. We're going to take a break now, if it's a convenient moment, and of 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and talk a bit about what happened in April.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
June, I want to turn now to talk in detail about your concerns in relation to the period from Monday the 9th of April 2018 to the following Monday, the 16th of April 2018. And if you can please turn to page 5 of your statement. you'll see there from paragraph 24 onwards, you deal with the chronology of these events. And I'm going to take you through what happened and ask you to comment upon them. So on the Monday, the 9th of April, 2018, this is 20 days after Terry had been discharged from care coordination, is it right that this was when Terry's sister contacted the recovery and wellbeing team? And she expressed concerns that she felt Terry was relapsing as he was presenting as manic, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And she described how Terry had been in town over the weekend. He was unkempt and unshaven, which was, is it right, that's unusual for Terry? He was over-friendly with people, paranoid. I think, is it right that he said something about he couldn't go into a cafe because he thought the man in the cafe was watching him?
That's right, yeah.
And his sister and presumably you as a family were also concerned that he was not taking his medication and was lacking insight into his illness.
That's right, yeah.
You go on to explain that Terry's care coordinator, who had been off on the 9th, but the Tuesday, the 10th of April, returned and discussed Terry's case at the multidisciplinary meeting. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And it was agreed that the care coordinator would visit Terry's home along with the recovery and wellbeing team lead. And this was communicated to Terry's sister at this point. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
And did Terry's sister get on the phone and let you know what was happening?
Yep, all the time. We kept up to date.
And so at this point, you were feeling some reassurance that Terry would be seen and he would be assessed?
Yes, that's right.
In fact, the visit didn't take place on the 10th of April. Is it right that Terry was understood to have gone to stay with his partner, but when Terry's sister explained the next morning that he was back and she'd seen him, it was arranged for that afternoon?
That's right, yeah.
Is it right that Terry's sister emailed the care coordinator on the Wednesday the 11th, saying that Terry had turned up at her house, speaking to her husband and referring to the devil and the end of the world?
Yes.
So at this point, before he's been seen, how concerned were you as a family as to what was happening with Terry?
Really concerned. I mean, my daughter was on the phone to the Taylor Centre. That's where the care coordinator works from.
Yes.
And she was on the phone to them all the time. I mean, all week, trying to get something done. But then what happened was, sorry, I don't know if you wanted to...
Well, I was going to say that on the 11th, the Wednesday, the 11th of April, at 1:30, the care coordinator and a colleague visited
That's right,
Terry.
did.
And I presume you understand this from the records, but is it right that he's said to have become verbally aggressive, uttered statements of a psychotic nature, and said he didn't want to speak to them?
Yeah, he didn't know why they were knocking on his door, and yeah, but they realised, obviously, that he wasn't right.
And you understand that the care coordinator discussed Terry's case with the duty AMHP, the approved mental health professional, and emailed a completed AMHP referral form requesting a mental health assessment to the AMHP service that day. Is that right?
That day, yeah.
And was that communicated to Terry's sister and therefore to you, that there had been this referral made?
Yes, we knew all along what was going on, and that on the Thursday, we had phone call. Well, my daughter phoned lots of times for updates to see whether if the warrant had come through, because the assessment and the warrant it needed both, and she was told that the warrant had been obtained for Terry on the Thursday.
Yes, and so just to take it a little slower, just in terms of those days, so the Wednesday, you understand that the warrant needs to be sought to have the Mental Health Act assessment, and that is going to happen on the Thursday. You're expecting the assessment to happen on the Thursday.
Yeah.
And is it right that the care coordinator also informed Terry's sister that she could contact the police if she had any further concerns about Terry's well-being overnight, for example? to get a welfare check?
That was not until the Friday,
Okay.
end of Friday.
And at this point, you understand now that the root cause analysis report said that, in fact, an emergency warrant should have been considered, given Terry's level of deterioration, which posed a secondary risk to himself. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Was the possibility of an emergency warrant raised with Terry's sister or you as a family at any point?
We didn't know anything about an emergency warrant. We didn't know that, sorry, you haven't got to Friday yet, but
Yes.
by end of day Friday, nothing has still happened.
Yes.
And if there's we didn't realise that if there's a mental health assessment pending, they have to notify the emergency department services of this over the weekend, and they put that person on a list as
Somebody who there is a
somebody
warrant
is in
pending.
crisis.
Yes. And so, in fact, what happened, is this right, is that the AMHP mistakenly booked a hearing date that had already passed.
That had already passed, that's right.
Which they shouldn't have been able to do, and was as a result of an error, a faulty system in terms of electronic booking.
Yeah, that's right.
But that meant that by the time that was picked up, the earliest available date was the 16th, which was the Monday.
But we were told that the warrant was obtained, and then when we thought that on the Thursday, Terry was going to have a visit,
Yes.
an assessment with this warrant, and it didn't happen. So when we phoned on the Friday morning,
Yes.
well, my daughter phoned on the Friday morning, and they said that it had been a mistake and no warrant was available.
And the person that your daughter was interacting with, is this right, was the same person throughout Thursday and Friday?
Yes,
And
that's the team leader and
Yes.
the wellbeing centre, at the Taylor Centre.
And the reason that she was interacting with him was because when the care coordinator spoke to her on the Wednesday, the 11th, she explained that she was on leave and that she would hand over the case to the RWB team lead, who would take responsibility and ownership for that.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And on the Thursday, the 12th of April, when Terry's sister called the team lead, she did this throughout the day, is that right?
She phoned lots of times, but she just felt that she wasn't, nobody seemed to be too concerned about it.
And in fact, you explained that the RWB team lead was quite rude in the way that he was responding to Terry's sister and the questions she was asking. Are you able to say a little bit more about how he was speaking to her, or the impression that she was given of his interest in the case? Or?
Well, our impression was that he didn't really have much interest in the case. And when he phoned, to sort of say that the warrant hadn't been, it was a mistake, there was no apology, there was no, she just wasn't very happy with the way he treated her. He was very disrespectful, and
Yes.
it was just really not very nice way to treat somebody. And she was trying her hardest to get things done, and it seemed like they weren't really, putting themselves out to get it done, even though it was so urgent. We were stressing how urgent it was.
And on that Thursday, when Terry's sister has made a number of phone calls, is it your understanding that no inquiries were made by the team lead of the AMHP as to whether there was a warrant or not on that Thursday, the 12th?
Sorry, say that again.
So is it your understanding that it's only on the Friday that the team lead contacts the AMHP to find out that there has not in fact been a warrant?
They blamed a student for doing the keying error on the computer for this order of this warrant, the team leader there.
And you say in your statement that Terry's sister strongly felt that the team lead lacked compassion in his responses to her inquiries.
Yes.
I want to turn now to the issue of contact from the approved mental health professional service. Terry's sister had been told that the AMHP would notify the family of the outcome of the referral, is that right?
Yes.
Did your family receive any communication from the AMHP service?
Not that I can recall, no.
Alerting you to the cause of the delay or even the fact of the delay?
No.
Is it your understanding that the AMHP also failed to contact the recovery and wellbeing team in order to ascertain if the delay caused by the error might have posed a further risk to Terry?
No.
You may not be able to say.
I can't say that, no, I don't know.
Friday, by the end of that day on Friday, your understanding is that there is no warrant for Terry as yet,
No.
and it won't happen until the earliest on the Monday, is that right? 16th.
That's right, the 16th, yeah.
Once it became clear that the warrant would not be executed until the 16th of April at the earliest, what information were your family given by the team lead, who Terry's sister spoke to, as to what you could do to ensure Terry was safe in the meantime?
Well, that we could contact the emergency duty team, which we did, but we were told that we could to contact either A&E or the police because he wasn't on their list for over the weekend.
And so is this right, that the emergency duty team have a list of those cases
Apparently
that
so.
are pending,
Yes,
as you understand
pending
it?
assessment.
Pending assessment. So that those cases can be dealt with differently
Yeah.
than perhaps other cases where there isn't that indication that there is a crisis taking place. And that in Terry's case, no one had let the emergency duty team know that there was a warrant pending for Terry and that he may
As
be
far
at
as I
crisis.
understand it, yeah.
And is it your understanding that there was no contingency plan in place to support you and to help you,
No.
to help Terry whilst he was waiting in mental health
That's
access?
right. All we was told was to contact A&E or the police. But with regards to A&E, we'd been down that road before and we knew that we would struggle to get Terry to A&E. And with regards to the police, we spoke to the police about this after Terry passed away.
Yes.
And they said that without the warrant, they couldn't really have done anything. If they'd knocked on his door over the weekend and he'd said he was okay, they would have walked away. That's because their powers aren't. They would have needed that warrant.
And is it also fair to say that you were balancing the important relationship that Terry's sister had with Terry in terms of the trust there and the support that gave him, with her trying to get him somehow to A&E when he would, in your knowledge, be very unwilling to go?
Yeah, my husband and my daughter both tried, and it's, you know, at the second time it was very, very difficult, and the way he was, and the third breakdown was the worst, I think, really, and we just couldn't have got him there on our own.
And over the weekend, what steps did Terry's sister take herself to try and do something or speak to Terry?
She spoke to him on the Saturday, and then I think she spoke to him again. I think she spoke to him on the Sunday as well. I can't really recall now, but she spoke to him quite a bit. But he, you know, he just didn't want to take any help from us, really.
Now,
but what happened was on the Sunday
Yes.
evening, you know, we was really concerned, and my daughter emailed the care coordinator to say it was really urgent, as she was really, really worried about him.
Yes.
And yeah, next day was the 16th.
And just in terms of the emergency duty team, when Terry's sister explained why it would be difficult to get Terry to the emergency department and why he would just tell the police he was okay, did they offer any alternative solution?
No. As far as I'm aware, they didn't know.
And you describe in your statement Terry's sister being particularly concerned about Terry's mental state due to the nature of the text she had received from him. Are you able to say whether these were along the lines of the kind of messages that had perhaps concerned you previously, or looked like it was a pattern of relapse?
Yeah, it's a pattern of, paranoia, manic. He was just exactly the same as what happened before.
Then
and you know, you see that straight away, and you know that something's happening. And I think, you know, that leading up to not just April but February and March.
Yes.
The professionals that spoke to him then, why they couldn't see it as well, it baffles me to this day. But.
And then on the 16th of April at 3:45 p.m, the warrant was obtained, and the AMHP staff contacted the police at that point. They hadn't done it beforehand, is that right?
No. As far as we know, they hadn't.
And so at 4:07 p.m, is it right that the police allegedly confirmed that they would be able to facilitate the warrant and also a Mental Health Act assessment, but that wouldn't be until the morning of the 18th of April?
That's right.
By this time, Terry had taken his own life, having jumped out of the window of his tower block flat, is that right? What is your view of the consequences of the delays in executing that warrant for Terry?
Well, there was just so many errors that week, really. So many, people just, to me, they didn't treat it as really urgent.
Yes.
You know, the warrant was, okay, there was an error. They could have got an emergency warrant. You know, why did they not do that? Because they didn't see it serious enough.
Yeah.
We did, but they didn't. And that's, you know, if he'd had that warrant on Friday, he would be here today.
I want to turn now to ask about some of your concerns regarding the contact with EPUT and the investigation that took place following Terry's death. The morning after Terry's death, is it right that Terry's sister received a call from the recovery and wellbeing team lead?
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened?
Well,
he
just said, did you know that what had happened to Terry? and that the care coordinator was in bits. And what did he think we didn't know? Of course we knew. We knew the night that it happened. And it was just his attitude, the way he spoke to her, and she was really distraught about it. She just thought he was just so rude and insensitive, let's say, very insensitive. Terry had already passed. Did we know? Of course we knew.
And I think you say in your statement that he started the conversation with, "Have you heard about Terry?"
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Following that initial interaction, is it right that as part of the investigation, you were given a family liaison officer from the mental health team, and you describe her causing the family more upset? Why do you say that?
Well, she came to visit once.
Yes.
And really, I just felt like it was a tick box exercise, really.
Yes.
And after that, there was no, we didn't ever meet again.
Yes.
And family liaison, well, it really wasn't there, really. It was just going through the motions as far as I was concerned, just to show up.
Yes.
Show up and say, oh, I've done my bit. This is what we do.
But there wasn't any follow-up or contact thereafter?
Mm-hmm.
EPUT then conducted an investigation following Terry's death, leading to the root cause analysis report. And you refer to this extensively in your statement, from paragraphs 118 to 131. It's page 22 onwards. You mention there your frustration by EPUT's inability to get information right in the initial report, is that right?
Yeah.
and also the root cause analysis report being sent to the coroner before it had been agreed by the family, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
What had you understood would happen with them?
Well, we understood when we had that case review after Terry passed away.
Yes.
We gave them lots of information about Terry's, the background, when he was young, all sorts of things.
Yes.
And sorry, I've forgotten what you said now.
I was just saying that you'd understood, is this right, that they would show you the report
Yes,
before
sorry.
it being provided to the coroner?
So we
is that
agreed that
right?
after this, when the report was done, we
Yes.
would look at the report and we agreed it, then it would go to the coroner.
Yes.
So when the report came to us, we were disgusted with it, really. I mean, there were spelling errors, grammatical errors, they'd even got the family liaison officer wrong.
Yes.
Words they used that my daughter, they said she used, things like Terry was slightly high and his mood was high. She'd never use words like that.
Yes.
She wouldn't use those kind of words. So they put words into that document that weren't true.
Yes.
And so there was a long list of things that we wanted to amend.
Yes.
And were really cross about. And again, the coroner was seeing this report. So we had to phone the coroner to say that we weren't happy with this report. And we've got a long list of things that we want amended, deleted. And they said to us, well, just send us the addendum over to them and they would deal with it, which they did very kindly. They were really good. The
coroner's office?
Coroner's office was really good, yeah. And they then had a better insight into the report with our additions.
Yes.
Which helped the coroner, I think, to come to a decision on the verdict of, open verdict rather than suicide. So there was lots of things wrong with it, and it was so disrespectful, spelling errors. Nobody had checked that report.
Yes.
They'd sent it out to us, and I think they didn't realise, well, they probably do send these reports out hoping that people won't reply. But we did. We went over it with a fine-tooth comb and, put them straight. After all that we'd been through,
yes.
They had the cheek to send us something like that. It was so infuriating. It really was at the time. It's bringing back memories now of it, but that's how it was at the time.
Of course. One of the things that was set out in the report was that the recovery and wellbeing team lead accepted the family's comments that there was a lack of communication from the team after the case was handed over from the care coordinator to him, and that he could have managed the initial contact with the family using more appropriate wording and offered an opportunity for a face-to-face meeting if needed. How did you feel about this proposal?
We didn't want, no. Again, going through the motions. Do your job and do it right, in these serious circumstances.
You explain that there's a lot of detail in here about what the root cause analysis report saw as issues and what was recommended. The things that are identified as issues, is it fair to say that you agree that all of those things were issues? The points they identify around failings in terms of handover, failings in terms of the AMHP contacting the emergency duty team. You agree with those conclusions, is that right? You say that as a family you feel that EPA have not placed significant weight on the system failures and have dismissed lightly the impact the failure of their electronic system and the delay in obtaining a warrant had on the outcome of Terry's death. Is that right?
Yes. It seems like everything that week was leading up to that. When I look back on it,
yes,
we couldn't change it. It was everything was leading up to that day.
Yes.
And things could have been changed, could have been different, but unfortunately they weren't.
you set out the lessons to be learned and the recommendations that are identified in the report. Is there anything you wish to say about that particular, the recommendations that the report made? If it assists, this is at your paragraph 131 at page 26. It's a list of 10 recommendations. And we will come on to the recommendations you made yourself just in a moment. But it was whether you wanted to comment.
I think those recommendations are...
And following receipt of this report, did you ever receive an update as to what had been done in relation to these recommendations? Whether or not, for example, the one-off teaching session to be delivered by the consultant psychotherapist had been given?
No.
You've touched upon the coroner's office and the assistance that you were given in terms of correcting the errors in the root case analysis report. And it's right, is it that the coroner, following an investigation that commenced on the 25th of April 2018 and an inquest hearing at the Essex Coroner's Court on the 26th of September, found that Terry died at his home address due to multiple injuries and reached an open conclusion?
Yeah.
And that she recorded the cause of death as multiple injuries. And you go on to say at your paragraph 135 that the coroner, during the inquest, commented that the evidence before her did not disclose that Terry had an intention to take his own life.
That's right.
And you include an extract from the root case analysis report in your statement just on the previous page, in fact 2 pages back at paragraph 129, which records that the family conclude that Terry's action was more likely to be a response to a psychotic phenomenon rather than an intention to take his own life.
That's right.
Does that fairly reflect your
Yep.
view of what happened to Terry?
Yes. I mean, Terry didn't leave any notes. You know, he loved his son. He wouldn't have done that to him if he'd been in the right frame of mind.
Yes.
He would not have done that. But he needed help and he didn't get it. And we can't change that now. As much as we tried. You know, there's people out there that really need to do their job right.
Yes.
We all have to do the right job, the right thing. And there's, yeah.
I want to come finally to the recommendations that you set out at the conclusion of your witness statement. And I just want to ask you whether there's anything further you'd like to say about them or how they impacted on Terry's care and treatment. Please can we have paragraph 138 on the screen, Sarah? So it's going to be brought up on the screen in front of you, but you also can refer to it in your witness statement, however you prefer. That's at the bottom of page 27. At paragraph 138, you state that families should have far more meaningful and structured involvement in the care and treatment planning of their loved ones. Families often hold vital information about the patient's history, early warning signs, and what approaches are most likely to help. Yet too often their voices are overlooked. Embedding family involvement as a routine and integral part of care planning would ensure decisions are better informed and truly centred around the patient's needs. Is there anything you'd like to add in relation to that recommendation?
No, not really. I mean, it's just common sense to me that, you know, everybody's involved, everybody should communicate, everybody should know, you know, regardless of, I mean, again, we're coming back to this, you know, if you're an adult, you don't seem to have that. You know, if he was a child, it would be a different thing. You know, if he was... You continue in paragraph 139 in relation to the similar issues. You say, in addition, there must be a significant improvement in communication between mental health professionals, patients and families. Information should be shared proactively and clearly with regular updates about the patient's condition, treatment options and any changes in risk or care plans.
This transparency would reduce misunderstandings and foster greater trust between
Yeah.
all parties involved.
Definitely.
You go on then at paragraph 140 to say timely intervention is also critical. Delays in assessing, diagnosing and treating patients can have devastating consequences. There needs to be an emphasis on reducing waiting times and ensuring that support is offered promptly at the first signs of deterioration rather than waiting until a crisis point is reached. Is there anything you'd like to add in relation to that?
No, that's really says it all, really, I think.
And finally, at paragraph 141, it is essential that staff genuinely listen to and act upon the views and concerns of both patients and their families. Patients and those closest to them are often the first to notice subtle changes or signs of distress. Taking these concerns seriously could help prevent further harm, and in some cases may be the difference between life and death. Are there any further recommendations beyond those that you've really helpfully set out there that you wish to highlight in light of the evidence today, or anything further you'd like to say at this point?
No, I just think I'd just like to say something about when this inquiry ends, you know, and the recommendations are put to the government. Those recommendations that are put to the NHS or whatever department may be, who's going to monitor that? If you want to improve things, you need to have some sort of for the future, so that it doesn't hurt anybody else.
Thank you. It's extremely helpful to
Sorry,
have
I'm
your...
going off track there a bit.
No, it's extremely helpful, and we have your recommendations there. And if there's anything further that you would like to say at this point, I don't have any further questions for you.
Thank you.
No, I don't.
No questions.
But I want to thank you very much indeed for your evidence. I know it's been not easy, either for you or for your family, who I know are sitting here.
I'll probably go home and say, oh, I should have said that, or I should have said this.
Well, if there's anything you think you missed out, you wish you had said, please write to me. I will see it. So,
Okay.
you know, that's not your final bite of the cherry. So thank you very much, and thank you to your family.
And June, before we will have a 10-minute pause just to see if there's anything further. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Sarah to put the photographs on screen. We're going to show now 3 photographs of your son, Terry.
Showing us those.
June, we will now have a 10-minute break to see if there are any further questions. If there aren't any, that concludes your evidence and you'll be free to leave. Thank you again for your evidence and the evidence you've given today. And Chair, thank you. If there are no more questions for June, then that will conclude the evidence for today.
And we'll meet again.
And we'll start again at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.